you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I really haven't talked about on my vlog too much yet, mostly because it's a lot. But I am getting married. So many emotions. I feel like this video is going to be really emotional. Like I can already feel it building in my chest. Okay, so I'm getting married. My fiance now, this is crazy to me. He proposed to me on Christmas. It was perfect and amazing, and I kind of want to keep the details about it to myself, actually. But it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted. It was so sweet. And I think the one thing that I will say is he was like shaking when he asked me, which was probably the cutest thing in the entire world, because those of you who don't know Kellen, he's super like into cars and motorcycles and guns, and he's just like a man, you know, like, and he is really strong, like one of the strongest people I know, and nothing really makes him nervous. So to see him like on the ground on one knee, just like trembling, it like really touched my heart. It was so sweet. He said it was the most nervous he's ever been in his entire life, and to me that just like proved to me like how important it was to him, and it really meant a lot. I said yes. I'm super excited. I don't know. I have like two parts that I want to do like with this video, and one is to show you guys like all the awesome stuff I've been planning, and another is to talk about why our wedding is going to be kind of emotional and why it's so special. And I think I'll go into like that part first and then end it with all the really cool stuff that I've already been planning. So oh my gosh, this is gonna be so hard. Like, I already feel myself like crying. Okay. Back in March of 2019, Kellen started getting sick. And at first we thought it was a cold, then we thought maybe the flu, because it kept lasting longer and getting worse, and he was just having a lot of stomach problems, and he was exhausted and running a fever and just stuff like that. And then one morning he woke up and he was like, "Megan, I need you to take me to the ER." And the thing that I honestly like instantly thought was, oh, it's appendicitis. Like I had seen my mom get appendicitis, I had seen my ex-boyfriend get appendicitis, and so I just like, I was super familiar with it, and all the symptoms matched, like extreme agony, and the fever and the throwing up and just like shaking. And I honestly thought that's what it was. I was a little anxious, but really not too concerned, because appendicitis, while it requires surgery, as long as you go to the hospital, you're more than likely going to be fine. And so I wasn't really nervous. We got there and I asked him if he wanted me to text his mom, and he was like, "No, don't worry about it. Like, let's not text her unless she needs to come." And so I was like, okay. And the doctors came in and said, you know, after they had run a bunch of tests and given him a lot of pain meds, because he was like doubled over in pain for like hours in the waiting room. And they said he had pancreatitis. And they were really concerned because his triglycerides, which are the fat in your blood and in your body, were upwards of 4,000. And to give you guys an idea, they're supposed to be around 125. Like that's like the top end of normal, like 125, and his were above 4,000. So they had never seen anyone with triglycerides that high. So we had a whole bunch of people like coming in and asking questions and then leaving. And they started doing this treatment on him where they were pushing tons and tons of fluid, and they were also giving him sugar and kind of like tricking his like pancreas and his kidneys and everything into pushing out the fat as fast as they could. He started getting better from what I thought. I thought he was getting better. He was in less pain. He was himself. And then things started to go really wrong. I'm not gonna cry. I'm seriously not going to, but if I tell myself then I won't. But it was so scary because what started happening is he would forget things, or he'd be confused about where he was or what was happening. And it just kept getting worse and worse to the point where he was having like auditory and visual hallucinations, like terrifying ones. He was screaming and yelling. He was fighting doctors and nurses trying to get up out of bed. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know where he was. He could barely communicate. Like, he could talk, but it was crazy. It was the craziest things I have ever heard in my entire life. He didn't recognize his mom. He didn't recognize me. He didn't know who anyone was or what was going on. And basically they said what they think happened is when your pancreas is inflamed, because the head of the pancreas and where the liver connects are so close in your body, that when the pancreas gets backed up, your liver gets backed up too. So his body wasn't processing ammonia correctly, and it was building up in his brain. And it causes hallucinations and paranoia and confusion, and it just decreases your brain activity. And he got really paranoid was the biggest thing, is he thought that the doctors were trying to probe him, or like trying to stick things under his skin, or trying to like hurt him. And that was so hard. Like, it's so hard to watch the person that you love just be gone. And not only are they gone, but they're terrified of everything. And it was also so hard because he's my rock. Like, he's the person that I go to when I'm scared. And so being more scared than I've ever been in my life, and he can't comfort me because he's not really there, it was so impossible. And it was so hard, and it felt like the longest few days of my entire life. And I just remember there were so many times in those days when a doctor would come into the ICU, and you would just see that look on their face. And I remember a doctor looking at me and telling me, he like grabbed my hand and he told me, "I've seen this kill people. He's been in the ICU for 2 days. His liver is starting to shut down. You need to be prepared." But how do you prepare for that? Like, I'm 22. I was 21 at the time. How am I supposed to prepare myself to practically be a widow? Like, I tried to imagine what it was going to be like when he didn't come home. I really couldn't be there a lot during the day because I had school and stuff, and I had to be with Bentley, but I would spend the nights with him. And I was one of the few things that could keep him calm. So they had to restrain him once, and it was terrifying. And he was fighting the doctors and nurses, and I just went and I stood in front of him and I looked at him and I said, "Hey, you have to get back in bed." And he just smiled at me and he calmed down and laid down and let them tie him to the bed, like his wrists and everything. And all the nurses knew that, like, if they needed Kellen to calm down, or if they needed to tell Kellen something or have him do something, to have me ask him, and he would do it. There was even one time he needed to go to CT, and they could not get him to do the CT because he would get up and freak out every time, and they wanted to send me with him to CT. he still didn't know who I was, but like for some reason, he just knew inside that I was his person and he could trust me and that I was going to keep him safe. And I was able to get through to him, which was amazing. And a lot of people ask me like why I didn't leave Kellen when he got so sick, or like how I made it through it. And I just, while it was so hard, it showed me how much he loved me. That like, no matter what, like he couldn't remember his own name, but he remembered that he loved me. And how could I forget that just because times were hard? When he was literally dying, like he was in the beginning stages of liver failure and all this other stuff, like they were scared that they were gonna have to put him on life support. And he still knew who I was, like deep, deep down. And it was so hard, but it also taught me like how much he loved me and how much I loved him. I mean, there were a lot of like funny moments looking back too. Like there was this one night we were laying in bed and he made me sleep in the hospital bed with him. He was like, tell me to come here, and he wouldn't relax unless I was right next to him. So I'd get up in his like bed in the ICU and I'd cuddle with him. And I remember one night he would wake up every like 15, 20 minutes. And I got so good at telling him that he had to stay in bed that by the time we got home from the hospital, I would do it in my sleep. And he would wake me up and he'd be like, hey, you were telling me to stay in bed, but we're at home and all this other stuff. And it took a long time for that to go away. But one night we were laying in bed and my arm was like this because I was like touching him or whatever. And he reaches over and he starts touching my armpit. And I was like, what are you doing, Kellen? And he was like, oh, I'm just checking your armpits for microchips. And he's like, you're safe. And I was like, oh, thanks. Thanks, baby. I'm glad that I don't have microchips in my armpits. Like, oh my gosh. Or he would tell me things like he wasn't allowed to eat because part of like pancreatitis is fasting, because then it gives like your entire digestive system a break. And so he hadn't eaten in a week, like no food at all, not even water for a week. And he started hallucinating a lot about food. So he would tell me like, Megan, like in the middle of the doctor talking to us, he'd be like, Megan, well, I guess he wouldn't say my name because he didn't remember me, but he'd be like, right in the middle of the doctor talking, he'd be like, look, there's mac and cheese on the floor over there. It's still good. Go get it for me. There was no mac and cheese. But there were definitely funny moments and it helped. And we did have a really special moment. I just remember like crying one night, laying next to him and just sobbing because I was so alone. Like I had no idea when he was gonna come back or if he was gonna come back. Like I didn't know if he was gonna die or if he was gonna be out of his mind for the rest of his life. Like the person I knew was gone and I didn't know if they were coming back, and I was just sobbing. And he rolled over and he was like, he touched my face and he just looked at me with like these big brown eyes, and he hugged me and he told me he was sorry. And I said, this is so hard. And I said, I can't do this. I can't live without you, and I miss you, and I want you to come back. And he had no idea what I was talking about, but he just hugged me and he said, I promise I'm not gonna die. I'm always going to be there. And then he fell asleep. And it was just like a little moment, like for that 1 second, he was himself and I wasn't alone. I just remember going home every day and laying in bed and looking at his side of the bed and thinking to myself, I don't know if he's ever gonna be there again. Like, I don't know if he's ever gonna lay next to me. And I just imagined my life without him, and it hurt so much. And he started to get better. And after 2 weeks, he came home. But that was just the beginning. It was just the beginning of the hardest year of my life. He was healthy for 2 or 3 months, and then he went back to the hospital for pancreatitis again. This time it wasn't as bad. There were no crazy complications. He missed my birthday, which was rough. But he got better, and I was feeling good. And then he got discharged, and I was so happy to have him, I was so excited to have him home. And then I got a call from his mom, and I knew the second I saw her name on the phone that something was wrong. And she said, "Megan, I need you to sit down." And so I sat down, and she said, "Kellen had a seizure on his way home from the hospital, and he's in an ambulance back on his way back to the hospital right now." And I just felt my entire world shatter again. Okay, so he survived pancreatitis twice, and now he is having seizures? What? He had a grand mal seizure in the car on the way home from the hospital. I get there and I hug him, and we decide to stay a couple days so he can get testing done there, because I did not want to go home not knowing what it was. They diagnosed him with epilepsy and put him on medication, which was the beginning of so much grief and hell. For those of you who don't know, seizure medications alter your brain. They alter your brain chemistry, and they change who you are when you take them. And they made him mean and tired, and just, he wasn't himself again. And it lasted for months. They tried 2 different medications, and both made him crazy. I couldn't stand to be around him. I couldn't stand, he was either sleeping the entire day and the entire night, or he was angry about every single little thing, and that's not him at all. Anyone who knows him knows he's one of those sweetest, most easygoing people ever, and he was just so angry about everything. And I just couldn't believe it. It finally got so bad that he decided to quit his seizure medication, and it was the week of July 14th. I don't remember, but it was July 14th. He had 2 seizures. The first seizure, and these were the first ones that I had seen. We were at my dad's cabin in Eastern Washington, and he had gone outside for something, and I heard this awful noise, like someone choking. And I ran to the window and I looked, and Kellen had fallen down the stairs and was laying on the ground outside having a grand mal seizure. And Bentley was just playing, he was safe, and so I ran outside, shut the door behind me, and I went to Kellen, and I remembered what they had told us to do if he had another one. So I turned him on his side, which was so hard because he weighs almost twice as much as I do. So I had to climb on top of him and roll him on his side so he doesn't choke. And it was just horrible. The sounds he made and the way he looked was awful. When he came out of it, or when it was over, he just hugged me, and he was really scared. And then about 10 minutes later, I told him, hey, you had a seizure, and we went inside, and he had a big scrape on his head because he had fallen down the stairs. But he didn't have a concussion. We called his doctor. That night, in his sleep, he had another seizure. And that time he threw up all over me. It was in my hair and all over my face and my chest. And I remember, he is so sweet. Literally after both his seizures, all he wanted to do was hold me and cuddle me, because he was scared, because when you come out of it, you aren't fully there. And I was covered in throw up, and he wanted to cuddle with me, and I was like, "Hey baby, can we go take a shower first?" And then he didn't realize he had had a seizure until we had gotten in the shower for a minute or two, and he started like coming all the way, like fully lucid. And then we decided to go to his mom's for a while. Long story short, he's recently been, I don't know what the word for undiagnosed is. We went back and saw a really good neurologist at Virginia Mason, which is like the top hospital in Seattle. And he doesn't have epilepsy. He hasn't had a seizure since. He actually just got back his license because he's been 6 months seizure free. So that's all good. He is not on any seizure medication. The seizure medications were awful, and I'm so glad he stopped taking them and doesn't need them. But then kind of like we got over the fact that he was off the seizure meds, he wasn't having seizures anymore, and then he got pancreatitis for a third time. And this time was the absolute hardest. I woke up one morning and he said that he had called his papa to take him to the hospital because he couldn't pee, and he hadn't peed in hours and it was starting to really hurt. I thought he had a UTI. I kind of hoped he had a UTI. But whenever he gets sick, even when he gets a cold, I get this horrible like anxiety. And I apparently, once they got the catheter in to like relieve the full bladder, he was instantly in excruciating pain. Like, I had seen him in pain before, but his papa called and told me that I needed to come to the hospital. And when I got there, he was screaming at the top of his lungs, yelling, like grabbing onto things, and just like his whole body was rock hard, and it was so hard to watch. Like, oh my God. It's so hard to see someone you love in so much pain, and there's nothing I could do at all. And they finally like got the pain under control, were doing everything they needed to, like flushing his system and starving him and all that stuff. And I thought it was just gonna be like another trip, like the one we had at the beginning of the summer. But then they got his scans back and they told us that he had dead tissue on his pancreas. So because he had had pancreatitis so many times, it had caused permanent damage to his pancreas. And so they decided to send him via ambulance to Seattle. He ended up having to get a feeding tube to drain his stomach. They told him that when he left, he might be diabetic. They told him he might need a surgery to install a drain that he would have on the outside of his stomach that would have to be cleaned every couple weeks. He missed Bentley's birthday and Halloween. And it's over now, and he's better. He's so much better. Like, he's finally, for the first time in a year, like himself. But I still get scared when he gets sick. And I still wake up in the middle of the night thinking we're at the hospital. And I watch everything he eats, and I calculate the fat in my head. And I still cry about it a lot. He is my best friend, and I don't know what I'd do without him. He gives Bentley and I so much love. And I never thought that I would be with someone as good as him. I don't know what else to say. I love him, and he's getting better. And it's gonna take me a little bit to heal. But that's why this wedding is so special though. And that's why our marriage is going to be so special. Because like Kellen's mom tells me all the time, Kellen and I have been through things that a lot of couples don't go through in a lifetime, in just a year. And we have this connection that I can't explain. And all I think about when I think about our wedding is the fact that I didn't know it was gonna happen. Like most people, when you meet the love of your life and you talk about getting married, there's nothing but joy there. Because you know it's gonna happen. Like you know it's gonna happen one day. But there were so many times in this past year where I told myself, I found the love of my life, but I don't know if we're gonna get married. I don't know if we're gonna have a wedding. I don't know if we're gonna have more kids or if we're gonna spend our lives together, because it might end now. And it didn't. We got really, really lucky. His GI doctor in Seattle told us that he had a 66% chance of dying in the past year. She said probably even greater than that, but that's the best they could estimate. And so a 1 in 3 chance that I'd get to marry him and I'd get to have his babies and I would get to spend the rest of my life so incredibly happy with him. And I'm just so grateful. And I don't believe in God or anything like that, but with him, with how much I love him and how much he loves Bentley and I can't help but believe in something. And that is why our wedding's gonna be so special. Now I'm gonna try to brighten it up, stop crying and be happy. And I'm gonna show you guys some of the stuff that I have already started planning for our wedding. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys is our wedding invitations. Before I show you, I wanna let you know the date and the location are on them, but they're wrong. We were going to have a small wedding in a park, but Kellen's uncle owns a very nice wedding venue about 2 hours away, and he offered to let us use it for free for our wedding. So I'm super excited because this means big, huge wedding. It's gonna be literally the wedding of my dreams. But I made this digital copy of the invitation before all that changed. And I just haven't updated it yet, so it's perfect for showing you guys. But here's the invitations. So look on my computer. I want to incorporate butterflies in my theme, but I don't want it to be tacky. And so part of that is I feel like black and white butterflies are less tacky than rainbow butterflies. So that's 2 invitations, and kind of my plan is I'm gonna print those on white cardstock, and then we're gonna be backing them with this beautiful glitter cardstock that I found on Amazon for super cheap. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it because it's smooth. I hate rough glitter. And it doesn't really come off on your hands. And that way, just the edges will be glittery. And on the back, there's gonna be a little note about RSVP and about our registry, or actually kind of our lack of. We have lived together for a while, and I have lived on my own since I was 17. So we have everything we need for a house. And so we are going to be doing a honeymoon fund because we are going to Germany to visit my mom shortly after the wedding. And Kellen and I really want to go to Paris, if possible, while we're over there, because it's such a great opportunity to go, and it would be such an amazing little mini honeymoon. But anyway, so I'll be backing on with the silver glitter, just a little bit. I'm trying really hard not to go overboard on glitter because I love glitter, but I don't want it to be like glitter everything because that's tacky too. And then I am going to be tying this ribbon. I hate the way the color turns out in this video. Let me close my computer and see if that helps. Oh, there we go. Okay. So then I'm going to be making bows and tying a ribbon around each one, putting them in an envelope and throwing them in the mail. I'm super excited. I asked all my bridesmaids this week. I have 5 bridesmaids and I'm super excited about all of them. Some of them I'm not as close with as others, but the cool part about a wedding is it gives you such a great opportunity to get closer with family and friends as you are planning and stuff. So I'm gonna have a party to make the invitations, and we'll kind of drink wine and eat snacks and just have fun. I also ordered swatches for bridesmaids dresses from Azazi. I think that's how you pronounce it. If you are planning a wedding, they are the best. I ordered my bridesmaid's dress for my dad's wedding from them. And the main reason I was drawn to them is because they do custom sizing for free. And I am very short. I'm 4'8" and I weigh like 95 pounds. So I don't fit in a lot of grown-up clothes, and kids' clothes don't fit me right either. So I really needed something custom, or else I was gonna end up paying a lot for alterations. All their dresses are from $75 to like $130, but most are right at like $100 or just above that. And I really like them because, like I said, they do custom sizing. They are plus size friendly, which is awesome. And they have so many different styles of dresses. And so basically how it works is they have like all these like hundreds of styles, and then they have like, oh gosh, a lot of colors. I think it's like 30 or 40 colors. And most of their dresses come in all the colors. So I ordered a bunch of swatches, and we're gonna pick like 2 or 3 that we all really like. And then I told my bridesmaids, as long as their dress is floor length and has some kind of straps, it can look however they want as long as it's in one of those colors and fits them properly. I want to do long dresses because I just feel like since it's an indoor wedding and it's going to be more formal, I like long dresses better. And I want to do straps because it really bugs me during weddings when brides or bridesmaids are always doing this, like messing with their boobs during the wedding, because strapless dresses like fit a very, very small amount of people perfectly. Like for me, when my boobs were bigger before I had Bentley, like I could kind of hold it up, but it had to be tight. And now that my chest is smaller, like I can't hold up a strapless dress to save my life. And I just don't want people messing with it. So I told them it had to have straps, but everyone seemed fine with it. I'm really happy because all my bridesmaids seem super chill and super friendly, and it just makes me more confident that I picked the right ones. So, what else? I also, okay, you guys, I don't know if this would constitute me being labeled as a bridezilla necessarily, but I am a little bit obsessed. I have a wedding PowerPoint. I don't know if you guys can see it because it's too bright. I made a PowerPoint for our wedding because I'm control freak. So it has an opening slide that just has our names on it. It has all my wedding colors. Someone said, oh my gosh, you have so many wedding colors. I actually have like 2. So I hate the way this tone is showing up, but that's okay. So I have like mauves, and there's a pink behind here that you can't really see. There we go. And I want to stay with the mauves as like my main color, but I also really like, I don't like colored flowers at weddings. So I'm gonna have a lot of greenery and white flowers, and silver is an accent. So I wanted to make sure the green was really represented in my color palette. Gosh, I might be a bridezilla. Is this, I mean, I'm not like I'm not controlling. I'm just like, I'm organized. I'm organized and put together. Then I have a little sample of our wedding invitation. I'm gonna put the RSVP thing here and the program so that I can look at all of them to make sure they match. I have the list of our bridesmaids and groomsmen. Bentley's gonna be the ring bearer and he's wearing a bow tie and suspenders, it's pretty much gonna be the cutest thing in the history of the world. Cute son, he's so cute. At my dad's wedding, I'm really hoping that Bentley does the same thing he did at my dad's wedding. Like, I am praying that he does. At my dad's wedding, Bentley was also the ring bearer. And as he was walking down the aisle, he stopped twice to dance because there was like live piano. And so he just stops and he like starts shaking his little booty and like doing this thing. And I was like, yes, you are my child. I love you. And everyone thought it was so cute. He like stole the show. And the best part is he like stopped and danced, but then he'd keep walking. And then he'd stop and dance and keep walking. And he'd just smile at everyone and wave. And then he'd got sent back to the kids' room to play during the ceremony. But he did so good. And I'm just hoping, like, can you do that for mommy, please? Please. It was so cute. I don't have any flower girls. I just, don't really want them. Is that awful? I don't want petals on the thing. The walkie thing. What is that? Oh, sorry. I said a bad word. What is that even called? The aisle? The aisle. Sure. I don't want petals in the aisle. So I've been also spending a lot of time on Pinterest and a lot of time on Wish. For those of you who are not familiar with Wish, it is basically an app and a website that you can order stuff from China. And Wish has a lot of weird stuff and a lot of stuff that like really makes me laugh. But it also has a lot of really great like hidden gems. And a lot of that stuff is wedding decorations. Like, I didn't realize how overpriced wedding decorations here in the United States are until I started looking at stuff on Wish. And I am definitely going to be doing an unboxing of some of that stuff as it comes in the mail. So definitely stay tuned to my channel for that because that will be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that it's all hits, but I kind of hope there's like something funny in there. What else? I'm also going to be doing a video about my wedding dress, which I just ordered. Yes, I'm so excited. I am so excited about my wedding dress, you guys. It's literally like, when I saw it, I was like, this is perfect. It's literally perfect. And it's custom made for me, so no alterations, hopefully. And it has a 3-foot long train, which is like, it's almost as tall as I am. It's gonna be so pretty. And the only other hint that I will give you about my dress is it matches my theme perfectly. That's all you get until my wedding. I also wanted to ask you guys, if you're my friend on social media or if you are just my friend on YouTube, which I appreciate you, please message me or comment in the, stuff below. What is that stuff called? Comment below? Okay, comment below. With any questions that you have for Kellen and I. It can be about our relationship, it can be about parenting, it can be about random stuff, it can be about silly stuff, it could be whatever you want. Because I really want to do a Q&A with Kellen for my vlog. I thought it would be a really fun way to like introduce him to people who don't know him very well, or my YouTube followers. So definitely comment or send me some questions that you have for us. And I think that's about it. I think I've talked for long enough. I think I've cried enough. I feel good now. Planning this wedding is such a mix of emotions because it's like reliving all the sad stuff, but also like we are so strong as a couple. Like, if we can make it through that, I can't see a single thing that we can't make it through together. And I love him so much, and I'm so excited for our life together and all the things that we have planned in the next like 2 or 3 years, which we've been talking a lot about lately. And just, we have a lot of really good things coming. And I see this wedding as a celebration of like moving forward and just being happy together. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching my videos and for all your love and support. I have been so happy with how this is going, and I can't wait to continue to grow as a YouTuber and just get to share more with you guys. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Make sure that you watch some of my other videos. I am going to be doing another makeup video soon because I saw you guys. I saw that you liked my get ready with me. That was way too long. So I will be doing another makeup video this week. Make sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification when I do. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you for being here.